Prince's last Diddy recording played in trial.
The instant Prince's voice echoed through the courtroom, Diddy's expression shifted. His carefully maintained calm cracked, exposed by the haunting sounds of the legendary artist's final recording, a ghostly message from beyond the grave. What was in that recording that broke the composure of one of music's most powerful figures? On day 3 of this explosive trial, evidence nobody anticipated was unveiled, and the reverberations are sending shockwaves throughout Hollywood.
Cassie said he would get physical. The one male guy who did things for Diddy and Cassie said he witnessed him get physical. Don, so again, we talked about how the domestic charges aren't, what he's being, what he's on trial for. But boy, it's stacking up. And I feel that the jury is going to take that into consideration.
The first Diddy party I went to was at Prince's house. So you want to go to Prince's house to the Diddy party where Tyrese is performing and Demi Moore and Ashton Kutcher are swinging on swings. That is what's happening on the other side of the wall. And so the one thing that makes this party different than a Jamie Foxx party or any other celebrity party that wrangles a bunch of young women or guys or whatever too, is that Diddy didn't let you bring your security in the party.
Day 3 began like the days before, journalists vying for the best seats, celebrities slipping in through side entrances, legal teams meticulously organizing their files. Yet something felt different. The atmosphere was electric. Security was doubled, with 4 officers stationed directly behind Diddy's table, an unusual move that raised eyebrows. A court insider later revealed special instructions were given that morning, though no one knew why. Diddy arrived unfazed, dressed in a sharp navy suit, nodding at supporters and flashing his trademark smile. His legal team formed a protective ring, whispering strategy, projecting control. But they hadn't noticed what was brewing. At the prosecution's table, 2 tech specialists quietly set up unfamiliar equipment. The lead prosecutor kept stealing glances at Diddy, anticipation thick in the air. Rumors spread like wildfire. A courtroom reporter recalled, people were texting across the room, waiting for the bomb the prosecution was about to drop. We all sensed it coming. When the judge entered, he paused unusually long before warning, regardless of the evidence today, I expect complete composure. Any disruption will lead to immediate removal. The prosecution's opening remarks seemed routine at first, reviewing witness testimony, connecting dots. Then, abruptly, the lead prosecutor stopped mid-sentence. Your Honor, at this time we present critical audio evidence recently authenticated by our forensic team. Holding a small black device, she approached the bench. The defense objected, claiming improper notice, leading to a heated sidebar. But the judge ruled the evidence admissible. The prosecutor faced the courtroom and announced, "What you are about to hear is the final private recording made by Prince Rogers Nelson before his death." The room froze. Phones stopped clicking. Everyone held their breath. Diddy's lead attorney gripped his arm. Color drained from Diddy's face in real time. His team huddled, whispering frantically as the device connected to the courtroom speakers. Before the first note sounded, the entire room shifted. Diddy's team knew devastation was coming, and so did he.
Trying to listen. It's a lot of this stuff that I've heard and seen already. I'm really trying to connect the dots here and think like, damn, what if Prince was what if he caught wind of some, I'll just say allegedly, stuff that Diddy might have been doing. That seems to be like, I ain't talking about consensual things, I'm talking about illegal things or whatever. But I'm just like, would Diddy be that dumb to not think that Prince, this celebrity, has cameras in his house as well? So I'm just trying to think, because if Prince has cameras and he's recording stuff, to get some dirt on Diddy, I don't know. I feel like Diddy, with all his cameras that he allegedly had, or no, they actually found cameras.
Problems?
That I don't know, right? What I know is that he was really health conscious. He was a vegan. He didn't abuse alcohol. I didn't know of him abusing drugs. He worked out, so, that also really concerned me because it made me think that, wow, so you mean you do all these things to take care of yourself and you die so young?
You could lose yourself and die so young, the prosecutor announced, holding the recording recovered from Prince's private vault. The courtroom buzzed with whispers, everyone leaning forward. Journalists furiously typed. This wasn't just evidence, it was Prince, speaking from beyond the grave. The recording, made weeks before Prince's 2016 death, was never meant for public ears. The prosecutor explained, Prince created this as insurance, documenting what he witnessed firsthand. As his voice filled the room, a woman in the third row covered her mouth and wept. It wasn't just hearing Prince, it was his tone. Worried. Low. Secretive. Far from the confident stage presence the world knew. I'm making this recording because I don't know who to trust anymore, Prince began, his voice clear, raw, punctuated by deep breaths. No singing. No performance. Just Prince's unguarded truth. Then came the names, the dates, the places. At the heart of it, Diddy. Prince described parties at Diddy's Hamptons and Miami homes, the very parties previous witnesses had testified about. As the recording played, Diddy's confident mask crumbled. His eyes widened. His lawyer whispered frantically, but Diddy stared blankly ahead, frozen. Prince's voice grew urgent. What happens at these parties isn't just wrong, it's criminal. I've seen how they operate. I've seen who's involved. I've seen who gets hurt. Each word hit Diddy like a physical blow. This wasn't just confirmation, it was irrefutable insider testimony. You can't cross-examine a dead man. You can't intimidate him into silence. Prince named a December 2015 party, detailing guests including 2 celebrities who'd previously denied attending. He described the setup upstairs in private rooms, exact details the prosecution had outlined. The courtroom was silent except for Prince's voice. Even the judge leaned in, captivated. Court reporters later said they'd never witnessed anything like it. The shock was almost tangible. Prince continued, I tried talking to him about it. I told him this had to stop. He just laughed and said I should mind my own business if I wanted to keep working in this industry. At that moment, the prosecutor paused the recording, perfectly timed, almost theatrical. All eyes snapped to Diddy. His calm facade was shattered. His face ashen. Hands trembling on the table, his lead attorney placed a yellow legal pad before him, trying to shield the jury from his reaction, but it was too late. The moment Prince's voice named him, Diddy's carefully built wall of confidence came crashing down.
Became such a big deal back then is ever since my third album, I wasn't really taking large advances from the recording companies. I was recording the albums myself in my own studio. So the way I looked at it, I owned the work because I paid for it. And I did all the work. I created it, so I felt like it should belong to me. That said, the companies felt otherwise, and they would always hold this contract up and say, well, you signed it. And I say, well, I understand that. It's not like I want to leave. I just want to, talk about this thing and see if we can't make it more fair. Of course, they wouldn't change, because if they changed, they wouldn't really exist. And that's kind of the situation we're in right today. They're not going to exist much longer. But it's not like we're against them or anything like that. The idea is that we find better ways of working with one another. It shouldn't be a situation where they own the album or the work. We're talking about intellectual copyright. If they're going to be indeed a delivery service, then that's fine. But even FedEx doesn't say that they own the thing that they ship.
Cassie Ventura on the witness stand for a 4th day in the federal criminal trial against hip-hop mogul Sean Diddy Combs. The defense continuing cross-examination this morning, confronting her with dozens of her own messages, many explicit, hoping to convince the jury she was an eager sexual partner who matched Combs' desires. I'm always ready to freak off, one message said.
She was into the freak-offs herself and was like a willing participant and was into all the freaky stuff, and essentially that was the crux of what they were trying to do yesterday.
And do you think they proved that or not?
I mean, there's texts like that from 2009, I'm always ready to freak off. There was some other texts where she was referencing like hitting him up about the FOs, is what they were referring to him. To me, like, yes, this doesn't look good, but at the same time, I think the timeline is crucial here. And these are texts from 2009, man. That was when they were first getting in the relationship. She was young. obviously they were in the honeymoon stage and she was stoked to like, oh my God, I'm with Diddy. I'm living this lavish lifestyle. Of course, she's going to be saying things that she knows will curry favor with him to keep it going.
For 2 full days, Diddy had been the epitome of control. When accusers pointed fingers, he stayed stoic and unmoved. When damaging photos flashed on the screen, he whispered calmly to his attorneys, never once revealing a crack in his carefully built persona. But then Prince's voice changed everything. As the recording played on, Diddy's transformation was sudden and shocking. His lead attorney, the same high-profile lawyer who has defended countless celebrities, reached out and placed a hand on Diddy's forearm in a calming gesture. Diddy jerked his arm away so violently that water spilled from a glass on the defense table. Jurors exchanged uneasy glances. The man who had built his empire on being cool and collected was unraveling before their eyes. A courtroom sketch artist later said she had never witnessed anyone's demeanor shift so drastically during testimony. Diddy's breathing became heavy and irregular, clearly visible even from the back of the room. His eyes darted around like he was searching for an escape. The judge, experienced from presiding over countless high-profile cases, never took eyes off Diddy, recognizing the unmistakable signs of someone losing control. Diddy shifted nervously in his seat, loosening his tie with trembling fingers. He leaned toward his legal team, whispering urgently. 3 attorneys quickly huddled closer. Prince's voice described a private gathering in Beverly Hills on March 9, 2016, an address already thoroughly documented in evidence. The moment Prince mentioned it, Diddy abruptly stood, as if yanked up by invisible strings. 4 security officers moved immediately toward the defense table. His lawyers scrambled, panic on their faces, trying to pull him back into his seat. The recording continued, detailing behavior matching the prosecutor's charges. The defense team looked desperate, practically climbing over each other to calm their client. Then it happened. Diddy lost control. "That's a lie," he shouted, his voice echoing through the stunned courtroom. "I wasn't even there. That never happened." A reporter in the front row visibly jumped at the outburst. The judge slammed his gavel, commanding order. "Mr. Combs, control yourself or I will hold you in contempt," he warned, fixing Diddy with a steely glare. The courtroom fell silent except for Prince's voice still playing over the speakers. In that moment, the prosecution's strategy became clear. They had waited for just the right time, when Diddy's guard was down, to drop this bombshell. And it worked perfectly.
The other things that the Diddy's team tried to do was show how they had breaks, and she was with Michael B. Jordan and was with Kid Cudi for a minute. But during that time period, she was still having freak-offs with Diddy, and I think that was them trying to show, this wasn't a controlling thing. Here she was, hooking up with other people. She just was into the freak-offs.
I kind of buy that, to be honest.
So...
she is out of the freak-off then. She is... when she's with Kid Cudi, or allegedly with Michael B. Jordan, she's kind of out of the freak-off if she wants to be. So why do you keep going back? Yeah. I know it's kind of like a mental, she still loves Diddy. Diddy was jealous about her.
Oh, yeah, because that was another thing that the prosecutors were trying to do, is show that, that they had a very jealous relationship. She would get jealous when he's with Kid Cudi. Also, Kim Porter, Cassie would be jealous of Kim Porter.
Right.
Trying to show that, Cassie, you were in love with this guy. That's why you were jealous.
Right.
So, this was a real relationship.
It was just interesting to see Chris Brown.
I mean, he's always coming up somewhere, dude.
He is.
Chris Brown.
All right. Final story of the week. Justin Bieber is not a victim of Diddy. So this was one of those rumors or whatever that was flying around in the months leading up to the trial. And to be honest, there was quite a few rumors flying around. Was there minors involved? Says if no other celebrity was part of Freak Off, why are they in hiding? Are they in hiding though?
I don't think they're in hiding. I just think other celebrities didn't want to insert themselves. No one wants to be tied to Diddy one way or the other.
Even if you're at a white party, just having a lot of fun at one of Diddy's white parties, you don't want to be linked in any way.
No, and that's why all those people, there's a few people I think that have come forward and been I didn't see any of this freak off stuff.
After order was restored, the prosecution resumed playing Prince's recording. What came next stunned everyone in the courtroom. Prince wasn't making vague accusations, he laid out 3 specific, damning allegations that struck at the very heart of the case. Prince revealed he had secretly documented troubling behavior in the music industry for years. "I keep everything," he said. "Dates, times, who was there, what happened. I've been doing this since 2007. Legal experts exchanged knowing looks. This was no random claim, it was systematic, meticulous documentation from one of music's most detailed minds, the first bombshell, parties at Diddy's homes. These aren't just parties," Prince explained. "They're calculated events. I watched him separate young artists from their teams, get them alone, and put them in situations where they couldn't say no." Prince named a specific Beverly Hills property, describing a room layout that matched floor plans already in evidence. The courtroom was completely silent. He spoke of how young artists were manipulated at these gatherings. "They come in thinking this is their big break. By the time they realize what's really happening, they're already trapped. I've seen it happen to at least 7 artists directly." The second allegation described a confrontation at a 2016 Grammy afterparty. "I told him I knew what was happening and it needed to stop," Prince said. "He laughed in my face and said, 'You might be Prince, but you're not untouchable.' I took that as a threat." Diddy's attorneys scribbled notes frantically, clearly blindsided. Most damaging was Prince's account of hush money's payments to individuals for their silence. He named exact sums, $2 million to one, $1.3 million to another, matching financial records introduced earlier. "I've seen the payments. I've seen the NDAs they signed," Prince said. "This isn't just rich people behaving badly. It's systematic. Calculated." Prince's voice grew somber. "I'm making this recording because I'm afraid to speak out publicly. The power structure in this industry protects people like him. Nobody wants to believe what happens behind closed doors." The recording ended with a chilling plea: "If anything happens to me, make sure this gets to the right people. This isn't just about protecting myself, it's about protecting everyone who hasn't been able to speak up." When Prince's voice finally fell silent, the courtroom stayed frozen. Nobody moved or whispered. The prosecution had done the extraordinary, turned Prince into their ultimate witness from beyond the grave. The lead prosecutor stood, simply saying, "No further questions, Your Honor." That was all that needed to be said. Prince had spoken what no living witness could, fearlessly revealing secrets buried for years.
They have their notebooks in their hand. They're coming in, they're very alert, and I think this is one of those testimonies where you have no choice but to pay attention and almost be flabbergasted, obviously, at some of what you're hearing, because it's not only just insight into somebody's sex life, but the details are disturbing at times, especially during that prosecution testimony when we saw some of the alleged abuse, or we saw pictures of her after a beating of some kind, according to her. But the jurors are definitely paying attention. I don't see anyone that's not keeping their focus on Cassie Ventura, and also I noticed them taking notes a lot of times.
And the children, as they were exiting court yesterday, 2 of the girls were seen crying. How emotional have they been in court?
Again, I cannot imagine if that was my father or somebody close to me up there and having to hear details of their sex life. Those are young women. They lost their mother, one of them, the twins. So no one can probably quite understand what it is that they're going through, but I think that's something that you think about on both sides, to look at Alex Fine, which is Cassie Ventura's husband, and think about him having to listen to all that's being said about the type of woman that Cassie Ventura was versus the person that's expecting, their 3rd child together now. So whether it's Combs's family or Ventura's family that's there to support her, her brother and her husband, Alex Fine, I think it's difficult on both sides. I've seen him taking notes from the beginning. I see him put his glasses on. He gets very close to the screen when they're reading some of those text messages. So he's paying attention.
Now, Ventura confirmed that she and Combs had conversations about a swingers lifestyle, but that the freak-offs, they were very different.
Yeah, so she talked about this idea where I guess Combs wanted her to watch him have sex with another woman. She said that happened 2 or 3 times, but that he mentioned it frequently.
Kim Porter came up today in testimony. What was the significance there?
The defense said early on that this case would be about infidelity, love, and jealousy. And this is where they brought that up today when they brought up Kim Porter's name. She asked the defense asked Cassie Ventura, are you jealous or were you jealous of Kim Porter? And Ventura sort of contemplated, but did get to this moment where she said, knowing that Combs spent holidays with his family, which meant with Porter, did bother her. And she admitted that. They also pointed out that there was testimony where she talked about being insanely jealous overall as a girlfriend. So, yeah.
We're hearing the judge wants Cassie off the stand tomorrow. Will the prosecution and defense get equal time?
Yeah, as long as there aren't any additional motions, I think that is the goal, to have her off the stand by tomorrow.
Why do you think that? What's the reasoning behind wanting her off the stand tomorrow?
In the very beginning, Rachel, they told us that she would likely be on that stand 2 to 3 days. So here we are.
In the 7 seconds after Diddy's outburst, the entire trial shifted. His legal team jumped into crisis mode. The lead attorney stood, voice nearly shaking as he addressed the judge. Your Honor, we request a 15-minute recess to consult with our client. The desperation was obvious. But the judge didn't hesitate, request denied. Court will continue with the presentation of evidence, he said, shooting a stern look at Diddy. I expect no further disruptions. The defense team looked stunned. These were attorneys who usually get whatever they ask for and charge $1,500 an hour. Today, nothing was going their way. Meanwhile, the prosecution hid their satisfaction behind professional faces, though the second chair prosecutor smiled slightly when Diddy shouted. Their trap had worked perfectly. A legal analyst whispered to a colleague, this is catastrophic for the defense. They spent 2 days portraying him as calm and innocent. That image just shattered. The judge reminded the jury to disregard the outburst, emphasizing that emotional reactions aren't evidence. But every trial attorney knows, once jurors see something, they can't unsee it. 3 jurors stared directly at Diddy, studying his every move. Security didn't take chances. 2 officers positioned themselves feet from the defense table, one standing just behind Diddy, ready to intervene instantly. The rest of the day was brutal for Diddy. The prosecution presented evidence directly connected to Prince's recording, financial records matching the hush money, text messages from witnesses corroborating the events. Diddy sat sweating in his designer suit. His hands trembled so visibly his attorney handed him a legal pad, something to hold on to. He declined water when offered. By mid-afternoon, he looked physically ill, his confident expression replaced by one of defeat. Before court adjourned, the defense filed an emergency motion to exclude Prince's recording, claiming it was manipulated and unauthentic, an obvious desperate attempt to undo what couldn't be undone. Legal experts recognized this as a last-ditch move. As everyone left the courtroom, analysts made bold predictions. This will be the moment the case was lost, one TV legal expert told his producer. In a single day, Diddy had gone from a man fighting false accusations to someone broken when confronted with the truth. Court insiders revealed the prosecution had this bombshell ready from the start but held it until day 3, when Diddy's guard was lowest. They studied his past courtroom behavior, timing their move perfectly. They built the case like architects, starting with witnesses to establish facts, then adding financials and texts, so that Prince's recording connected to evidence already accepted by the jury. They even rehearsed playing the recording, timing every pause and glance. Prince became the perfect witness, unintimidated, UN cross-examinable, and credible beyond question. Dropping this on day 3 wasn't just about the jury, it ensured renewed media frenzy when public interest usually wanes. As court ended, the contrast between teams couldn't be sharper. The prosecution gathered calmly, while Diddy's team was in visible distress, urgent calls, frantic pages of legal texts. The power balance had shifted completely. One moment, Diddy was a powerful mogul fighting allegations, the next, a desperate man watching his image crumble under the testimony of a music legend speaking from beyond the grave. The trial would resume tomorrow, but everyone knew, nothing would ever be the same. What kept insiders awake was not just Diddy's fate, but what else might be hiding in Prince's private vault. What other secrets, what other recordings, had yet to surface?